They're away and racing with Heat 2. One or two of the white tops just jinking about on the home straight as they head on down towards that first turn. Round the turn, Mo Smith pushing through there in 51, leaving Rob Pearce out wide in 175. Now the lead men go through down the home straight, 266. Jeff Stagg, the leader.
I think Mo might regret that, Dave. Rob's never one who's ever been like to be pushed wide. I think Rob might well feel the... Mo Smith might well feel the Rob Pearce front bumper before the race is out.
Oh, we shall see what happens between those two later on in the race. But it looks as though it's Jeff Stagg who leads at the moment in 266. Oh, there's Wayman in a spotter bother, bouncing a barrel and bouncing over Richard Ainsworth and totally out, I think, with Koos Peters. So Wayman has lost a few places. He's done well to recover and get back on track. But in the battle between the star men, that sort of time lost is very crucial. Well, there's Wayman goes through, Koos Peters and some of the tail enders going through there. Rob Pearce, 175, just leaning across the front end of Wayman there, slamming the door in his face, trying to keep him from going through. 507 car on the middle and in trouble. Koos Peters fighting back. The Dutch drivers far more used to racing on tarmac than the more traditional British surface of shale. So we expect one or two of the Dutch drivers to perform rather well this afternoon. Those are the top men going through on the home straight again, and it looks as though it's Peter Morton who's taken over the lead in 132. In fact, he's not. He's up to second, Peter Morton, in 132. Still Jeff Stagg, the leader, in 266. And the 117 car of Rob Scriven is running third. Best star man looks to be Mo Smith, back in about fifth place in 51. Oh, and that novice driver 44, just John Stanley there, jinking towards the camera position on the home straight. There is the best star man, Mo Smith, 51. Martin, he didn't get a mention before the race from you.
No, another one of my boobs, I think, probably, Dave. But I don't think Rob Pearce will actually catch Mo. But there's still a long way to go yet, so we'll reserve judgment.
So Mo Smith leading the star men through. And there's Koos Peters, Dutchman 73, who was really slammed into the fence a moment ago by Rob Pearce in 175. Koos Peters trying to back out, but getting knocked back in by Tony Smith, 195. And that's Richard Ainsworth, 354, moving through. One of the star men beginning to creep up the places. Murray Harrison just in front of him in 97. Koos Peters coming back for more now, number 73, after that hefty shunt in the fence. So Jeff Stagg still the leader in 266. Mo Smith is second, 51. Peter Morton there, third in 132. Behind him, Richard Ainsworth going through. So it looks as though Ainsworth is through to third or fourth now, but he's taken the wide line round that bend and lost places. Murray Harrison, 97, and John Wright, 128, have gone past him. Wright putting the bumper in hard on Murray Harrison, and then puff of smoke from the tyres. And Ainsworth trying to fight back. There's the chase down the places. They've got just about 5 laps to run at the moment. So we're going through the closing stages. Murray Harrison, 97 there, under pressure from Richard Ainsworth, 354. Behind him it's John Wright, 128. And then Frankie Wayman getting back up the places in 212.
Jeff Stagg still there, well in the lead. There's Richard Ainsworth just gone there. I don't think we'll see Richard finish this one. But Jeff Stagg still well in the lead, actually, Dave, and be a very meritorious win for a white top. He's a good quarter of a lap in the lead for Mo Smith at the present moment.
So Richard Ainsworth hitting trouble there under pressure. Jeff Stagg still the leader in 266, the white top driver. He's a quarter of a lap clear of Graham Blundell in 156, and I think that Frankie Wayman is through to third now in 212. And it's 266 Jeff Stagg, and I think I might have said Graham Blundell second. I did mean Mo Smith, 51, who's running second, and then Wayman in 212. The last lap board is out. And that's second place, Mo Smith. He's chasing that white top, just disappearing down the back straight in front of him. There he is, Jeff Stagg, 266. And it looks as though Jeff is going to hold on. He's coming off the grandstand bend for the last time. Mr. Starter gives him the checker flag. And it's a white top victory in Heat 2 with Jeff Stagg the winner in 266.
That could be his first ever race victory. I can't ever remember him winning a race before. But, yeah, a good win for him.
So there he is, Jeff Stagg in car 266. The rest of the drivers racing through to complete their 16 racing laps. And a very nice win for one of the white tops in the sport. Second place went to the Essex-based driver 51, Mo Smith. And in third place, despite that problem early on in the race, it was Frankie Wainman in 212. Well, the next event is Heat 3, and there on track is the new Brisca Formula 1 World Champion, John Lund, car number 53. Screensport viewers may have seen recently the programme where John won that title at Bellevue Stadium. His first time out this afternoon with that gold roof. Martin, he's a very popular winner. He doesn't seem to have too many people who dislike him, as some of the top drivers have.
Yeah, John is, as I say, he's probably one of the most popular people within the sport and a very, very worthy world champion. And I would also think that he's going to take a hell of a lot of beating this afternoon. He's got a little bit of competition today because he's got the guy in the same race that actually took the crown from, which was Peter Folding, number 33. So Peter could have something to prove this afternoon. It could well be a battle of the new and the ex-world champion.
And Peter Folding, of course, did remarkably well in that world final. There he is, and he moved up from row 15 on the grid to finish in 6th place, which only indicates that he might very well have retained his title had he have got through the semi-final with a position nearer the front of the grid. So his year without the world title starts now. He's going to have to prove a thing or two as far as the losing the gold roof is concerned, but he's really flying just lately and could be well in contention this afternoon.
Dave, I think Peter will go better in this next year. I think he was very young when he won the world title, and it was a lot on his shoulders, and I think you'll see the real Peter Folding over the next 12 months. Well,
this is the start of that next 12 months as he gets underway in Heat 3 this afternoon. There's the green flag. So there are 24 cars in this one. It's another 16 racing laps, and they're getting away down to that pits turn. Tangle of low graders there, hunting across the middle, looking for a chance to rejoin. And the dust flying as they go across the grass on the middle. Round that grandstand bend, they're heading back to the home straight. Starmen moving through there, Peter Folding, and behind him Dutchman Friedel Walters in H8. Round that pits turn. Peter Folding already moving through very nicely in 33. Tangle down there takes out the 139 car of Stuart Smith. 236 also in trouble down there. Tony Smith 195. And a whole heap of trouble on that grandstand bend. John Lund 53 saw it coming and managed to take avoiding action across the middle. He's back on track now, going around that pits turn.
Peter Folding's got to fly here. I think John going to be lucky to catch him, actually. He's over the last 3 or 4 weeks, Peter's absolutely flown, and he's looking good at the present moment. John's got a real task on here to actually pull back the deficit he's got at the present moment.
Well, there's that tangle down on the pits turn, and the way they're parked, it looks as though cars will be coming and going and joining them throughout the race. Peter Folding moving very well in number 33. There's Folding just going past Wayne Handley on the back straight, 378. Left Wayne Handley for dead down there on that straight. So down around that next turn into the back straight. 209 car is parked up and out of the running. It's Brian Bedford. We've got another one in the fence down there on the home straight. Now we're looking for the lead man to come through. And it looks as though it's Glindaft car number 96 who has the lead. From 33, Peter Folding in second place, and Folding has taken over the lead now. There he is going through, Folding the leader, 33. White top Glindaft is second in 96. And Dutchman Friedel Walters going well in H8. And it looks as though he's in the top 3, and in fact he's gone second now with white top Glindaft down to 3rd. Behind them Dan Clark is 4, and that's the 4th and 5th there. John Lund up into the top 5 in 53. There he is, he's just gone past Glindaft, and he's battling now with Dan Clark. If he gets past Clark, that'll put him in the top 3. So there he is, John Lund goes through to 3rd in 53. So the lead man is Pete Folding, 33. In second, it's Dutchman Friedel Walters in H8, and in 3rd is 53, John Lund. That's our top 3.
I think so John's going to find it's going to be a bit harder this year, because I think with that gold roof on, everybody wants to beat the world champion, and probably it's going to be his first defeat in his first race.
Well, he's struggling at the moment to get with Peter Faulding, who got a flyer in the early stages. And there is the second and third, and we're looking for the leader. There he is with the slanted aerofoil on the roof of his car down the home straight. There's Welters in second in number 8, just behind him John Lund third in 53. The 5 laps to run board is out. So Mr. Starter showing them they're entering the closing stages of this third heat. And there's Faulding back again on the home straight, going through in the lead in 33. Down around the pits turn he goes. He's about a quarter of a lap clear of Friedan Welters in number 8, and Welters under pressure now from John Lund in 53. Dave Tapping has gone in 4-1-2, we see down in that parking lot on the grandstand bend. But Faulding is away and clear. The battle is hotting up between Welters and Lund, and it looks as though Lund is just easing past Welters now, and Lund has gone second. So that's second and third. John Lund, the new world champion. Friedan Welters from Holland in third place. And those two a quarter of a lap down, and it looks as though they've got to settle for the minor places in this one. They're running out of laps, and it doesn't look as though they're going to catch Peter Faulding. There he is, and what a start to his year. Without the gold roof, it's going to make Martin in the closing stages, well set for victory.
Yeah, he's gone very well, but we said earlier, Dave, over the last 3 or 4 weeks, when he's realised that the gold roof has gone, it's like a big weight lifted from his shoulders, and he's been just a totally different driver over the last 4 weeks. And as I say, I think we'll see Peter Faulding at his best over the next 4 weeks.
Well, he's going through down the home straight, and there is the checker flag, and Faulding wins it. John Lund has finished second, Welters third. Coming home in fourth, it's Dan Clark. Behind him, Rob Cowley in 73. And then further on down the line, it looked like Steve Booth in 4:46 and Paul Harrison in 22. But that's the winning driver. No longer Formula One stock car world champion, but certainly winning races. He's won the third heat here at Northampton this afternoon. Car number 33, Peter Faulding. Second place went to the new world champion, 53, John Lund. And in third place from Holland, H8, Friedan Welters. And the next event is the Consolation. It's the last chance to qualify for the final this afternoon. One of the men who's hoping to get through is that man Bobby Burns, 471. Bobby, of course, did very well in the Screensport qualifying series. He's got a good grid position for the final. Very nearly won the series, but just missed out in that Grand National heat at Skegness that we saw not too long ago. So he'll be hoping to do well in this one, the Consolation, get through to this afternoon's Grand Final. With a lot of drivers going to be on track for that one. 1 or 2 star men who didn't make it through the heats. There they are. And 1 or 2 novice drivers behind them bringing up the rear of the grid. Martin Richard Ainsworth on track for this one. We want 2 Dutch drivers amongst the star men, but Bobby Burns, well, he ought to do something here.
Yeah, I think Bobby Burns, or Big Bad Bobby as he's known in the stock car world, is got to be favourite, I think, for this one. He goes well on tarmac, probably better on tarmac than Shell this year. And I don't think he's Richard Ainsworth his main opposition, but I think you've got a plump for Bobby.
So Mr. Starter Pete Saul gives them the green flag, and we're away into the race. 16 racing laps then, and just the first 8 will qualify for the final. The rest of them, well, their afternoon is virtually over. They'll have an extra race, but no big points and no big prize money on it. Phil Haig in trouble. There's a tangle there on the home straight. And it looks like Mick Stecco behind him, I think, who's bailed out. And Phil Haig off and racing again, 4.54. So is Ian Hall there in 3.81. So that tangle early on puts paid to their hopes. Another tangle developing there, and Bobby Burns in the back end of it in 4.71. In behind Alan Scott on 45, Richard Pratt 1.62. One of the Dutch drivers, Burns, disappears off into the cloud of dust that has just come because 1 or 2 cars are racing across the middle. Peter Morton is one of them, 1.32, gets airborne there as he looks for a gap in the traffic and a safe journey back over the curb onto the track. Well, those are the lead cars heading away down the straight.
Looks like my kiss of death again, Dave, predicting the driver. But I think with Bobby, he must have lost 3/4 of a lap there.
Yes, I think word is,
to catch up.
I think word is getting round the pits, Martin, that when Martin tips them for victory, they don't do so well. So Glyn Daft goes through there in 96, behind him Peter Morton, who we just saw rejoining in 1.32. And it's Glyn Daft who leads in car number 96. Peter Morton is second in 1.32, a loose barrel on the circuit there, one of the infield marker barrels. Phil Bicknell in the fence in car number 7. So Phil Bicknell in trouble, just adjusting his belts.
There'll be a lot of people relieved to see Phil there, because Phil's another guy that causes absolutely mayhem usually. I think that everybody, their heart misses a beat as they go to pass Phil, because he never knows when he's going to go left, right, straight on, or God knows where. But there'll be some drivers with a sigh of relief with Phil out of the race.
Well, this time he went to the fence, as has Wayne Handley, 378, and he's got front wheel well and truly under the ropes there. Here come some of the men chasing the leader. Going through there is 77 from Holland, Chris Bimmel. He's going well, and he was, and I put the kiss of death on him as well, by the look of things. Clobbered a back marker parked in the fence. Murray Harrison going well in 97. He's got a couple of wheels on the curb trying to go around that turn. Murray Harrison running third at the moment in 97. Stu Smith 139 out of the running, and so's Richard Ainsworth in 354. So another star man in trouble. He's just backing out and getting off after them. But of course, it's only the top 8 to qualify for the final. You can't afford to lose ground like that in a consolation event.
Dave, looking at the mayhem around the circuit here, I think we'll be lucky if we get 8 finish. I don't know about 8 qualifiers.
Well, it's noticeable that one or two of the Dutch drivers are still going nicely, while the British drivers are having trouble, and Glyn Daft in trouble there in 96. He was the leader last time we looked out front. And there he goes down the back straight in towards the grandstand bend. That's the race leader, 96, Glyn Daft. White top driver from Nottingham, and the halfway stage is reached. So into the second half we go. And it's Glyn Daft who leads the way. There's Burns just coming around the grandstand bend in 471, trying to get back into the action. The leader goes through there, the yellow car with the white roof, 96, Glyn Daft, and Phil Haig parks up 454. An anxious glance behind him there as he watches the traffic come round. We're moving towards the closing stages of this consolation race. They've got about 5 laps to run, and it's still Glyn Daft in the lead in 96. There's Mr. Starter showing him the lap board with 5 to run.
Glyn's got a good lead. At the present moment, he's way in front of 97 Murray Harrison, who's running second. Could well be the second white top of the afternoon, records a victory. He's a good quarter of a lap in the lead from Murray Harrison.
Well, the field has thinned out considerably, so there aren't too many back markers. Glyn Daft just chasing a couple of back markers. Peter Morton on the middle again, 132. And he's blown a back tyre, Peter Morton. That's the reason he's on the middle. That's second place man, Murray Harrison, 97. Chasing around that turn, trying to clear the traffic and get a shunt in at Glyn Daft, the leader. Ray Williams, 26, goes through. Ian Hall, 381. Stuart Malestri, 173. But they're all down amongst the back markers.
You have got 873. The Dutch guy, Koos Peters, is actually moved up to third place at the present moment, Daves. But I don't think he's going to be able to... He's a little bit too far back to be able to put any real challenge, I think, on the 2 leaders.
So it looks like he's the best of the star men, in fact, as he goes through. But that's the leader, and that's the last lap board, and we could be heading for another white top victory here, because Glyn Daft is on his way in 96. Some of the back markers come through, and there's one of them, Stuart Lester, 173. Bobby Burns chasing up the places in 471. Glyn Daft just having problems there with the back marker. Wally Pitton in 134. The checker flag's about to go out. Hand out of the cab in glee as Glyn Daft takes the checkered in 96. So Glyn Daft wins the consolation event then in car number 96. Just moving around track. Lots of mayhem around the circuit then during that consolation event. Glyn Daft was the winner in car number 96. Second place went to 97, Murray Harrison, and third was one of the Dutch drivers, H7, Matt Delaroy. And now we move on to the feature race of the afternoon, the man's-sponsored Euro Cup, European Cup for the Formula One stock cars. We have several drivers from Holland who have made it through to the final. We're moving away onto the rolling lap. And there is number 8. We just caught a glimpse of him, Friedhelm Welters from Holland. He's already won a race here this season, went on an earlier visit by some of the Dutch drivers. And in fact, he rolled over on that occasion. The race was stopped. There was a full restart. He got back onto 4 wheels and went out and won the race. And he's quite used to tarmac. He's quite a good fast driver. Martin, best of the Dutch must be Friedhelm Welters.
Yeah, definitely, Dave. It's the people that are here today, probably if Ian Rudgeon had been here, that he would had a bit more competition. But I think for the European final, let's look for Again, the two guys ending number 3, with Peter Folding came out best the first time, but 33 and 53.
And there's the green flag, so up to 32 cars on track. All those have qualified through the heats and the Consolation this afternoon. The other drivers, well, they're standing in the pits watching as the action gets underway, and they race around that first turn. And those are the star men from the back of the pack trying to move their way forward. A lot of traffic in front of them. Peter Folding with the very odd angled aerofoil. We can see his car stands out from a very long distance. Coming down the inside line there, number 33. Somebody streaking away onto the middle there and out of the running. And there's Gary Maynard, 151, just bouncing the fence and having a problem on the home straight.
Dave, looking at this, what the viewers can't see at the present moment, but John Lund's twigged onto the back of Peter Folding's bumper very, very quickly, I think. Mind you, Peter Folding's gone off. I think Lund's way out on his own, perhaps from the Supers house in the back of the grid.
Oh, there is Folding going through into the back straight in the number 33 car. And it looks as though the star men are already getting amongst the low graders who went from the front. And with the lead man, Jeff Stagg, in 266. We're looking at the chasers coming through, and the 503 car of Jeff Parker shunted out wide to hit the fence there. Slow drop Cowley down in 73. There's Folding going through, but it's Jeff Stagg, the leader, in 266. He goes around the pits turn. Stagg, the leader, on the back straight. 327, Howard Davis is in second place, and 96, Glyn Daft is third. So there's the lead man, Stagg, in 266. Yellow top Howard Davis just behind him, coming into shot there in 327. There's Stagg, the leader.
He's got no lead at the present moment, Jeff Stagg, but I think it might be a little bit too much for him. He's already had one race victory this afternoon. But looking at the class of this field, for Jeff to hold on, I think he's going to be lucky if he's still there at half distance.
Just rolling through shot there on the white outside, 481, Bill Morris, who took a third in Heat 1 this afternoon. He's onto the middle now. He's got a flat tyre, so he's out of the race. And somebody's stuck on the fence over there, and it looks like Bobby Burns, 471. Got a wheel under the ropes and over the ropes, and he's desperately spinning them out wheels trying to get that car out. But it looks as though Bobby Burns will not go no further in this one. And quite a tangle down there. They pile into that part, Bobby Burns' car. We've got Koos Peters and Matt Delaroy, two of the Dutchmen involved in that shunt, and Bobby Burns has managed to get his car out with that shunt.
Dave, just looking at that shot there, you see Bobby Burns' aerofoil. How anybody ever clobbered his aerofoil from that high? There must have been 5 or 6 feet off the ground to have hit his aerofoil. Because Bobby was on 4 wheels with just... He was on the ground with just... You know, with no damage to the car whatsoever.
Well, there's shunts going on all around the circuit. 32 cars on track. That's a lot of traffic. Now Bobby Burns really getting shunted there as the cars piled in. Bounced his aerofoil onto the fence, in fact, so we think. And bouncing back onto 4 wheels, but he's got a flat tyre now, so he's out of the running. And somebody else clobbering the fence there, and that's Alan Scotland in 45. Bit of dirt from underneath the fence, dragged onto the track. He's away back racing. Dan Clark goes through in 203, and it looks as though Dan Clark's the leader, in fact. Dan Clark is in the lead in 203. Down the back straight he goes. Previous winner of the European Championship at this track, in fact, and leading the European Cup at the moment as the halfway stage is reached and the Union Jack is out. So it's Dan Clark, the leader. And Friedan Welters is second in car number 8. There's a tangle on that bend. I think John Lund was involved in that. Certainly was Graham Blundell. Alan Scotland Park, middle of the track in 45. Well, the field is not thinning out at the moment. There's plenty of traffic around, of course, problems for the leaders, but it's Dan Clark in the lead in 203. Friedan Welters for Holland second in number 8. And the original leader, White Top Jeff Stagg, third in 266. Martin, Friedan Welters closing on the leader.
Yeah, Friedan's won a race here before, but he's never won a final, I don't believe, in the UK. So it'd be quite a novelty to see one of the Dutch lads to actually come home in first place. But one thing we must say, John Lund's luck this afternoon isn't the luck of the World Championship as it's been the last couple of years, because John's gone out of the race and he's way back in the back markers.
Well, we shall see what happens to Friedan Welters. Will he catch the leader or not? Frankie Wayman has moved up into third place in 2:12, but it's Dan Clark who leads in 2:03. Coming down towards us now on the inside line. And there he goes through, Dan Clark, 2:03 in the lead. There's Friedan Walters, 2 cars between first and second. Clark on the left of screen at the moment is the lead man in 2:03. There he goes. 2 yellow cars behind him, and then Friedan Walters with a red roof, H8, and Frankie Wayman third in 2:12. There's Walters from Holland. He's got just 1 back marker between himself and lead man Dan Clark now in 2:03. So Walters running second. Howard Davies, 3:27, retires to the infield. He was up with the leaders early on. There's Walters in second place. That's Clark, the leader, going through in 2:03.
Charging up in third place, though, Dave, is Frankie Wayman, who's not a million miles behind Walters, so it could turn into a good 3-car battle in the latter stages.
Well, we're moving well through the second half, and there's Walters. He's still closing the gap on Clark, and the 5 to run board is out. So it's Dan Clark for England in 2:03, from Friedan Walters from Holland in H8, and there they are, 1 and 2. Together on picture now, the top 2 go down the back straight towards the grandstand bend. And Wayman is right there with them in 2:12 in third place. The 1, 2, 3, there they go. Walters second, Wayman third, down the home straight, down into the pits turn. And the pressure on because we're going through the closing stages. Back marker Dave Tapping nudged aside by Dan Clark there. Wayman closes on Walters as they go to that bend. And Wayman is looking hungry. It looks as though he's going to go through on the inside. So it's Clark the leader and Wayman through to second with 3 to run. So there's Dan Clark in 2:03 and Frankie Wayman looking very ominous, Martin, in the closing stages.
Yeah, with Frankie, you know, right now on Danny's back bumper, you've got to fancy Frankie to take it. As I say, with 2 to go, it looks like a last lap charge, and I think that we may even see Frankie taking him with a lap to go.
Well, 1 wheel on the curb there. Frankie's found a gap on the inside. He's through. Dan Clark will have 1 opportunity, and this is it to nudge Wayman out. But Wayman, a master of the moving around that bend. The last lap board is out, and there's Wayman cleared at the front now, pulling away from Dan Clark's front bumper. Clark will hit the loud pedal down the back straight for the last time, but he's not going to get it anywhere near close enough to stop Frankie Wayman. So he's coming off the last bend and into the home straight, and the man-sponsored European Cup goes to Frankie Wayman in 2:12. Dan Clark has finished second. John Lund has just gone through there. Good placing for John Lund in the closing stages. So the slowing down lap continues. There's Frankie Wayman, 2:12. Superb drive by Frankie to come late in the closing stages. So Frankie Wayman from Silsden in West Yorkshire wins the man-sponsored European Cup in 2:12. Second, the long-time leader in the second half of the race, Northamptonshire's Dan Clark in 2:03. And a very creditable performance by H8 from Holland, Friedan Walters. He finished third. So on to the Grand National Heat, and Frankie Wayman on track immediately. He has a 1 lap handicap, of course, in this race. That's his penalty for winning the final this afternoon, and there he is starting at the front of the grid. So how far up the places will he get? Well, we've seen drivers this year doing rather well. Bobby Burns notably at Skegness in the last round of the Screensport Superstar Series, when he almost finished in the top 3, but clobbered a parked car on the last bend. Those are the men that Frankie will be chasing from the front of the grid, because they are the star men. Bobby Burns there in 4.71. And the aerofoil has now disappeared. The mechanics have obviously decided that in the bent and battered condition we last saw it, it was better back in the transporter in the pits. So Bobby Burns going without the aerofoil in this one. They're away and rolling. Martin, we've had some cracking racing this afternoon, plenty of mayhem and action around the track. Who's going to survive this time?
Well, my predictions haven't come particularly true so far this afternoon. You know, I think I've gone through a couple of rounds this year and I've been not too far off, but we seem to have lost our knack this afternoon. Exactly who? I think we'll go for Richard Ainsworth or Peter Folding, I think, off the front of the Reds. The way Folding's gone over the last 3 or 4 weeks, we'll stick with Peter Folding.
So we're on the rolling lap then, and I think I'm right in saying that this is event 10 on a very lengthy programme this afternoon of racing here. Of course, we've only picked out the Formula 1 stock car events to show you, the viewers at home. But this afternoon, a very long day for our camera crew around the track. Event 10 this race. the Grand National Heat. And there is Frankie Wayman leading them round. So the sunshine that greeted us at the beginning of the afternoon has now well and truly disappeared as we move into the dusk on this autumn evening. Frankie Wayman not at all bothered about the dusk at the moment, nonchalantly sitting with one hand out of the cab as he often does. And there's the green flag. And Mr. Brian Beats, Brisca's #1 starter, takes over on the rostrum for the last 2 races of the day as the action gets underway and they head for the first turn. And there's Stuart McLester in 173 going the wrong way and knocking a barrel over in the process. And we got one on fire there, 45, Alan Scothen. It looks as though it's probably only a fire in the drip tray under the engine, but it's just continuing to burn, Martin, that fire, a little bit worrying.
Yeah, that's petrol, actually. So, yeah, I think, you know, there's no real problem from looking at that. You occasionally get these flashback when these little flash fires. But I think it's out now.
Well, Alan Scothen's certainly not too bothered about it, sitting in his car still. As the top men go through in the opening stages of this one, round that turn. Bumpers fly there with the blue tops going. Dave Tapping 412, Paul Harrison going to place there in 22. There's Dan Clark in 203 going nicely. And a white top, I think it was Tony Smith, who just bounced away into the fence, and Richard Ainsworth in the fence. And Willie Harrison on the middle in car #2. So Richard Ainsworth in trouble right at the start. And it's Peter Morton, the yellow top, in shot now, who leads the race, 132. Behind him is Dan Clark in 203, and then in third it's Dave Tapping in 412. Close behind Tapping there is Paul Harrison in 22, he's fourth, with Richard Pratt fifth in 162. So that's our top 5. We've got a yellow top leading, but 4 blue tops chasing him through. And there they go.
Dave, it's not on screen at the present moment, but John Lund's moving through the field. He's actually driving, he's back to his old form. He looks like, you know, the world champion that he is, actually. He's probably up to about 7th or 8th place already.
So there's Dan Clark going through. Peter Morton the leader, Dan Clark second. There they go, chasing through with Paul Harrison, Dave Tapping and Richard Pratt next. That's down to 5th place. And John Lund, I reckon, is now up into 6th place in 53. So John Lund moving down the back straight, just behind the blue tops we've got in shot, in fact. And there is John Lund coming around that grandstand bend, car number 53. There he is, he's running 6th now in the number 53 car. Behind him is Rob Pearce in 175. And up front, it looks as though Dan Clark has taken over the lead position in 203. But those are the blue tops moving through, 4th, 5th, and there's John Lund in 53. So Lund up into the top places now. Best of the Reds in this one. That's Richard Pratt, 162, Dave Tapping, 412. We're at the halfway stage in this Grand National Heat, so we're moving through the second half. Peter Morton the leader, I beg your pardon, in 2nd place. Dan Clark the leader, there is Dan Clark. So it's 203, Dan Clark just lapping the Phil Haig 454 car. Phil the equaliser. So looking back, and there's John Lund going through, moving up, and then Dave Tapping. And then behind him, Rob Pearce, and then Friedan Welters, and then Frankie Wayman from the 1-lap handicap, really motoring nicely. So he must be up into 8th, 9th place, possibly.
Yeah, Frankie's well known for his exploits at Northampton many, many, many times from the lap handicap as he got well into the platings. So it's nothing new for Frankie.
And there's Bobby Burns in trouble again in 471. Flat front tyre, gets clobbered by Stuart McLester in 173. So Burns having an afternoon he'll want to forget. The lap board's out in the closing stages.
You noticed there, Dave, 45, Alan Scothen got going again. That was the car we saw the flames from earlier.
Yeah, and obviously no problem for him. Richard Ainsworth finally bailing out. He's been parked in the fence for several laps. But over the fence he goes onto a safe position. And that's Dan Clark, the lead man in 203. So Dan Clark, the clear leader. John Lund moving through. Frankie Wayman certainly moving up the places. It's Paul Harrison who's 2nd in 22. That's the lead man, Dan Clark, just gone through with 2 to run. Paul Harrison is running 2nd in 22. John Lund is up to 3rd place now in 53. That's the lead man, Dan Clark. And that's 2nd and 3rd. 2nd on the left of the shot there is Paul Harrison. In 3rd, it's John Lund in 53. And the last lap board is out. Harrison goes through 2nd, Lund 3rd. They're on the last. And Lund is closing on Harrison. Going to be a battle between them two down the back straight last time. Will Lund get close enough to push Harrison out? He's doing his best to close Harrison out as Dan Clark comes into the home straight and takes the checkered flag. Clark the winner, and Harrison has just beaten John Lund in the dash for the line. Looking back down track, Friedan Welters looks as though he finished fourth, and Frankie Wayman through to fifth place from a one-lap handicap. Tremendous drive there by Frankie Wayman. So that's the Grand National Heat. Normally the last race of the day, but there is one more race to go here today. But that's the race winner. It's Dan Clark in 2:03 from Rothwell in Northamptonshire. Second place went to the Rotherham driver Paul Harrison, 22, and third was 53, John Lund, the world champion, of course. And Frankie Wayman there in 2:12. Tremendous drive from the one-lap handicap. He got through to finish fifth, but that's the winning driver in the Grand National Heat, 2:03, Dan Clark. So an extra race to the normal programme of Heat's Consolation Final Grand National. This is the CADS driver members race. And Martin, you know a bit more about CADS than I do.
Yeah, CADS is the Coventry District Stock Car Club, and every year the club actually put a race up just for their driver members. And fortunately we're a little bit bereft of cars today with the damage earlier, and we lost 1 or 2 cars from last night's meeting. But we've still got a good class grid out there with 25 cars onto the grid, with about £300 prize money up, so it's well worth these lads being out on the track.
And of course they are racing just for the prize money. There are no national grading points on this, and it's pleasing to see how many star drivers are taking part, with nothing at stake other than prize money, and of course the chance to become the CADS driver member race winner. Mr. Brian Bede on the rostrum gives them the green flag, so away they go. The whites go through, the yellows following them through. Oh, John Lund's blown a tyre. 53 John Lund has blown a back tyre. Is that going to be just a hint of what's to come for what is traditionally a bad year for the man who's won the world title? A bit of bad luck. Peter Fawley certainly has had bad luck this year. Could John Lund be heading for the same? So that's the lead man. It's Jeff Stagg in 2:66. That's about the third time this afternoon we've seen Jeff as the early pace setter. There he goes around the pits turn. We're looking back a couple more whites. Howard Davis, the first of the yellows, through in 3:27. First of the blues going through there, and the best of the reds is Peter Fawley in 33, leading them through in the early stages. Willie Harrison not too far behind him, and then Graham Blundell and Richard Ainsworth. And Fawley just having a battle with Phil Bicknell, who has great difficulty in keeping a straight line around the circuits. Phil Bicknell at number 7. Howard Davis having a good race in 3:27. He's beginning to move through the field. But at the moment, it's Peter Fawley, the leading star man, Martin.
Yeah, Peter's gone really well this afternoon, but he's still got 1 or 2 cars in front of him. Danny Clark, he's gone very well this afternoon, but you've got a guy there in car number 44. It's actually not John Stanley. The car is now raced by Paul Williams 488, one of Frankie Wayman's mechanics. But
Peter Fawley is certainly moving up there. He's just gone past Paul Harrison, car number 22. And there he goes, moving through very nicely. So there is Fawley. The brakes applied as he goes to that turn, sticking to the inside line. Dan Clark just in front of him in 2:03. And Dan Clark is certainly well up with the pace setters. It looks as though it's Jeff Stagg, the leader, in 2:66. And there's Graham Blundell, quarter barrel 156 under the front end. He rolls off onto the middle. He's going to have to reverse off that barrel and get back on track, and he'll lose at least a lap in doing so, and that'll put him well out of the running. So it's Jeff Stagg, the leader, the white top driver, in 2:66. Howard Davis is second, the yellow top 3:27. And then we've got Peter Fawley through to third now in 33. He's just dropped Dan Clark down to fourth in 2:03. So there they go. That's the second place man just going through there. Howard Davis, 3:27. And there's Dan Clark and Pete Fawley. Fawley, of course, now third. Dan Clark down to fourth. Stagg the leader, 2:66. Davis second, 3:27. Fawley third in 33. Dan Clark fourth in 2:03. Those 4 seem to be pulling away from the rest of the field. Now Peter Fawley putting pressure on, and that's the 1, 2, 3 together in shot there. Jeff Stagg the leader, 2:66, and 5:07 spins around and backs into the fence. That's the leader, that's second, and it's Fawley now who's through to second. Howard Davis drops to third. Phil Hager's gone there in 4:54. The back end of the car facing the fence, and Peter Fawley's about to take the lead there. Jeff Stagg relegated to second now, relegated to third as Howard Davies follows through into second. The halfway stage is reached. We're through into the second half. Peter Faulding is just about to complete a great afternoon for himself, Martin.
Yeah, he's had a good afternoon. There's Howard Davies that was running second, just gone out, but Peter looks like to have it in the bag at the present moment. He's got a good lead. Doesn't look like he's going to be challenged because he must be nearly half a lap in the lead now. Second place is still Jeff Stagg, I believe. No, you've got Wayman actually coming through into second place. Mind you, Frankie won this race 2 years ago and John Lund last year, so it looks like we've got the third different winner in 3 years.
Well, those are the minor place drivers moving through. There's Frankie Wayman up into second place in 2-1-2, chasing Peter Faulding the leader, 33. 175, Rob Pearce there retiring from the race and rolling away onto the middle. So Howard Davies goes through in 3:27, and then Frankie Wayman in 2-1-2. There's the leader, Peter Faulding going through. Wayman in second place in 2-1-2. The lap board's out, we're in the closing stages. The Starmen have fought their way through to the front then. Peter Faulding in 33, the leader. Frankie Wayman second in 2-1-2. It's blue top Paul Harrison who's third in 22. Mr. Starler gives them the 4 laps to go signal. That's the leader, Faulding going through. Looking back down track to second, and Frankie Wayman I didn't see go through, and that's the reason why. He's tangled with backmarker Wayne Handley, and he's gone to the fence. And that's why Frankie Wayman was missing from that shot going through in second. Wayne Handley's bailing out, he's had enough, he's climbing over the fence. Frankie Wayman trying to get his car restarted. Wayman's had enough, he's bailing out as well. So there's the leader coming through, Peter Faulding in 33. Through he goes and into the back straight. So it's Faulding the leader. I think it's Paul Harrison who's running second in 22. The last lap board is out. So Peter Faulding on his last. There he is in number 33. So he's heading down the back straight for the last time into the grandstand bend. Car number 33, Peter Faulding. Mr. Starter Brian Beak gives him the checker flag. He wins the cabs race. The minor place drivers are coming through at the end of the racing distance. And it looks to me as though Peter lapped them, in fact, up to about 5th place in that race. So a very good drive by him, and certainly making up this afternoon for the disappointment of losing the World Championship title and the gold roof that goes with it. He still actually has a gold roof on the car, but mechanics haven't had time to repaint it red. But Peter Faulding back as an ordinary star man, although a little out of the ordinary this afternoon with his race winning. He was the winner of that one. Second place went to the son of Willie Harrison, that's Paul Harrison in car number 22. Graham Blundell finished third in 156. In 4th place, Richard Ainsworth, and the rest of them, in fact, I think were lapped by the eventual winner, Peter Faulding. So a good drive by him. That's the Coventry and District Stock Car Supporters Driver Members Race for 1987. And although it's based in Coventry, it has lots of driver members, as you can see, from all over the country. So well done to Peter Faulding. Good afternoon's racing for him, and good afternoon's racing from also Frankie Wayman, of course, who won the grand final. So with the dust just beginning to settle in this autumn evening at Northampton Stadium, a great day's stock car racing for the Formula Ones. We've also had entertainment from various other formulas, but that just about wraps it up for today. So from all of us at Northampton Stadium, stay tuned for more stock car racing Formula One style from the various Brisca tracks. On behalf of Martin Clark, myself, Dave Edwards, goodbye to you from Northampton Stadium. 2-3, there they go. Walters second, Wayman third, down the home straight, down into the pit turn. And the pressure on because we're going through the closing stages. Back marker Dave Tapping nudged aside by Dan Clark there. Wayman closes on Walters as they go to that bend. And Wayman is looking hungry. He looks as though he's going to go through on the inside. So it's Clark the leader and Wayman through to second with 3 to run. So there's Dan Clark in 2:03, and Frankie Wayman looking very ominous, Martin, in the closing stages.
Yeah, with Frankie, you know, right now on Danny's back bumper, you've got to fancy Frankie to take it. As I say, with 2 to go, it looks like a last lap charge, and I think that we may even see Frankie taking him with a lap to go.
Well, one wheel on the curb there. Frankie's found a gap on the inside. He's through. Dan Clark will have one opportunity, and this is it to nudge Wayman out. But Wayman, a master of the moving around that bend. The last lap board is out, and there's Wayman cleared at the front now, pulling away from Dan Clark's front bumper. Clark will hit the loud pedal down the back straight for the last time, but he's not going to get it anywhere near close enough to stop Frankie Wayman. So he's coming off the last bend and into the home straight, and the man-sponsored European Cup goes to Frankie Wayman in 2-1-2.